Hey guys, I think it's time. That we talk about drum isolation.
Hey, 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 what do you say? Yes, it's that time again. It's Tech Tuesday.
Hey, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. This is Chad from Ascension Worship. This week I'm with Ascension Collective, and we are doing a camp in St. Simon's Island in Georgia, the state that wishes that it could be Florida, maybe one day. Something I wanted to show you guys this week is some of the drum isolation that we've been doing recently. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that if you are having problems getting your drums to sound clean in your room, and on your live stream, and in your band's in-ears, if you think that just throwing a shield up in front or having those silly little baffles in front of your drums or having your drummer play to the room is going to fix all your problems, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that that is probably not true, at least not 100%. The problem with those situations is that they are deflecting the sound, not absorbing the sound. And if you're like us, maybe your room is someplace that is designed originally for choir and orchestra, not for a full band. And so you're gonna have problems trying to get everything to sound clean and as much like a studio sounding drum kit as you can. So let me show you what we've been working on lately. Again, we tend to play a lot of rooms that are not initially made for drums, especially not, full volume the way we like. So we have lately been using a mobile setup that we have that is a shield, but it's also paired with some absorptive roof and rear that really, really helps to get the most out of our drums. So the shield, this is actually two shields that are put together, but essentially it's a 7-panel shield so that we have enough room to give the drummer as much room as possible. Again, the shield itself is a necessity because you can see through it, obviously, but really it deflects sound, and you really want something that's going to absorb sound. So on top of the shield, literally, we have a lid pack. I'll put links to everything in the description. But what this is it's a bunch of panels that go above the drums to absorb sound, and we bought the extra wide one. It comes with 2 support bars that hold it over the shield, make sure it doesn't collapse in on your drummer. And one thing you can see on here, we've actually started, I got this trick from someone on the CSMT forum, I believe. This is 2 microphone clips that have been coupled together with the adapter that comes with them. And so this has allowed us to mount our overhead microphones to the support bar rather than having to have a stand, which takes up a lot of space on the ground and makes it more difficult for the drummer to get all of his stands for his drums to fit properly. So we got the drum shield, we got the roof, and then hopefully you can see in the picture here, we have more panels that are behind the drummer. Now, if you're on a stage and there's a hard wall behind the drummer, you're gonna need something like this. If you have like a sound absorptive drape, you may be able to get away without having this. But I do suggest this. These are from Sorber, which from what I can tell is part of the Clearsonic family. There are 2 panels, but each panel is actually 2 panels that are connected with a hinge. So it's like having 4 panels. Because they're hinged and they're the same height as the drum shield, 5.5 feet, you can use them as a makeshift door for the drummer to get in and out. Now, on top of that, one of our drummers likes to be really deep in the drum shield, and sometimes the roof panels don't go far enough back. It's not the most attractive thing, but I'm experimenting this week with taking a packing blanket from Harbor Freight, and you can see I've wrapped it around the back support beam, and it goes over the back panels and kind of covers any area where the back panels might open up a little bit and allow some sound to come through. It's just a little bit more sound absorption that's a little bit more flexible to work on that. So that's made a really big difference. Now, the problem, if you can call it that, when you have fully isolated drums, is that means that you're gonna have to rely a lot more on your drum mics because you need to now hear them a lot clearer. Now this is ultimately, going to be a good thing because you're going to need this for your in-ears and your live stream anyway. So we are using the Rode NT5 match pair. Last I checked, they're about $430 for the pair. I like them a lot. But if you're new to drum overheads, I would spend a little bit less and get the Rode M5s. They're $200 for the pair. They sound great. I think they're about the same design. The big thing is that they don't have interchangeable capsules, but that's not gonna be a problem for this application. So you can see they're mounted on the support bar. Not my favorite way to do things, but for this purpose it works, and again, it frees us up space on the floor. For the kick mic, we are using the Sennheiser E902. I love this microphone. It gives you a lot of the punch and clarity of two microphones without having to be two mics. It's just one, it's built really well. It sounds great. It's got a lot of punch and clarity to it, so I'm a big fan of that. For the snare, old tricks are the best tricks. Hopefully you can see this in here. We are using the classic Shure SM57 on top. I like to have top and bottom because we gate the top mic a lot to keep the cymbals out and to make the reverb come through nice and clear just on those big hits. So we pair that underneath. It's kind of hard to see in here, but take my word for it. There is a Shure SM57 on the bottom as well. It is using a stand like what we have here. You can buy these for fairly cheap at Guitar Center. And because they're not a tripod, they're a little bit easier to fit in there to, again, make sure that you're leaving plenty of floor space. For the rack and floor tom, we're using the clip-on Sennheiser E604. I also like the 904s, which seem to be a little bit more durable, but these are great. And that's it. So yeah, I hate to be the one to tell you, just having a front shield really does hardly anything. It might even make things worse because it's just deflecting sound in different directions. Those baffle things are really only useful if you are in an arena type situation where you're not trying to keep the drums isolated, you're trying to keep them out of your vocal microphones. But in a smaller space with reflective walls, you really need to absorb that sound. And then having your drummer play to the room is great in concept, but it really depends on how bad your room is. I know a lot of drummers who are phenomenal at playing to the room, but it's still going to have some sort of effect, especially if it's in a room that's made for choir and orchestra. I've seen some drummers, you can be 5 feet away from them and they're barely hitting the drums, but when you go out into the room, it's still crazy loud just because of the material of the walls and that kind of thing. And honestly, it's just not always practical to pay to have proper isolation for your room. You should, but maybe you just can't. Maybe you're in a building that you don't own and you can only do so much. So having some sort of drum isolation like this is probably gonna be your best bet. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful for somebody out there. Until next time, have a great week. Again, this is Chad from Ascension Worship. I hope this has been helpful for you and your team. Come back here every Tuesday for new information.